History of English literature has troubled students. Students find it really tough to relate history of English literature. Sometimes they have issues in chronological orders of various ages. Sometimes we are struggling with Anglo-Saxon, sometimes struggling with Age of Chaucer, Dark Ages, then early Renaissance, Elizabethans, Jacobeans, Puritans, Cavaliers, Restoration, Augustines, Pre-Romantic, Romantic, Victorians, and others. So this is my attempt to explain one of the most complex age because this age is divided in many parts. This particular age troubles most of the students because this age has a lot of happening and it has multiple types of literary trends. So we are going to deal with 17th century literature, history of English literature. We're going to talk about this thing. All the new students who are going to watch it for the first time, all the new viewers who are here on my channel for the first time, I welcome you all. This is Vineet Pandey. I'm ex-assistant professor, University of Delhi, Department of English. I'm 10 times net qualified. My last net qualified percentile was 99.88 in English. Recently, I've written few books. I'm also double JRF, 17 times set qualified. I'm going to attempt 3 more set exams to mark it 20. I'm going to appear in Ladakh set. I'm going to appear in Telangana set and West Bengal set. So we will have 20 set exams. Along with these things, I'm handling India's biggest offline batch of UGC Net English, biggest online batch of UGC Net English. Now, let's talk about history of English literature and the age called 17th century. My dear students, when we say 17th century, it means after 1600. From 1600 to 1700 is everything 17th century. From 1701 to 1799, that is called 18th century. So when we say 17th century, it means we are going to read the timing, the time genre, the tenure would be from 1601 or 1600 to 1699 or 1700. Now, the problem with early 17th century literature is that it is heavily influenced from the Elizabethans. If you see the Elizabethan age starting from 1558 to 1603, Queen Elizabeth died in the early, in the first installment of the 17th century. She died in 1603. But when we say 17th century, the first 10 to 20 years literature is totally dominated by Elizabethan style. The biggest reason why? Because William Shakespeare was still alive. Shakespeare was still there in 17th century. Shakespeare was writing. Shakespeare died by 1616. So Tempest got published by 1611. Then Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, Macbeth, all other famous works, they all came after 1600. Means 1602, 1603, then 1605, 1606. So technically when Shakespeare himself was there, then the other writers, Ben Jonson, born 1572, died 1637. Ben Jonson was there. Then, if we talk about the other Elizabethan writers, Francis Bacon, born 1561, but he was still there, 1626 died. We have John Donne. John Donne is 1572 and died 1631. So, all the great Elizabethan writers were still there. So, the first quarter of the 17th century is dominated by the Elizabethan style literature. Now comes the important point. Because as I told you, the 17th century is very much confusing. So remember my points. I used to teach this thing in the University of Delhi in my introductions. So first quarter of the 17th century is totally dominated by the Elizabethans, but still, can we identify some particular style? And here comes the genre called revenge tragedies. Write down the point, revenge tragedies. The first 25 years or first 30 years of 17th century were totally dominated by one type of tragedy, revenge tragedies. Now 1603, when Queen Elizabeth died, James I became the King of England. Now who was this man James I? He was from Scotland. So James VI of Scotland, he was welcomed by the people of England because at that time after Elizabeth there was no proper king from the same dynasty. They invited James I that, sir, please become our king. So James I was already James VI of Scotland and he was already a king. He comes to England and becomes the king. When James I became the king, the time was 1603 to 1625. This age is called Jacobean age. The first quarter of 17th century is called Jacobean age. Write down the point. 1603 to 1625. Now, when an outsider comes to become a king, there are so many people, they are greedy to become the king. So they thought that we are in the England, why they are inviting a king from outside? Some of these court people, some of these courtiers, ministers, they were not happy with arrival of James I. They tried to kill him. Primarily the famous name Guy Fawkes, Guyfawkes. The name of the person is Guy Fawkes, Guyfawkes. I'm teaching you as I teach in my online class, okay? So you many of you must be thinking, "Arey, Vineet sir to spelling bhi batate." Yes, I do teach the spellings also because all I want you to have is 100% knowledge. Guy Fawkes, what did he do? In 1605, with his other friends, he planned to bomb the complete dynasty. So there was a function going on, and all the royal people, James I, his wife, his children, and others, they were about to be assembled. They were, supposed to come and join a royal function. There was a big wooden stage. What did Guy Fawkes do? He placed 39 barrels of gunpowder. 39 bade bade dabbe, the barrels. 39 barrels of gunpowder were placed beneath the stage. एक बड़ा सा स्टेज था, नीचे 39 barrels of gunpowder लगाया था. Boom! एक धमाका. Complete English royal dynasty, oligarchy, autocracy, dictatorship खत्म हो जाती. This plot is called gunpowder plot. If you didn't know this thing earlier, like the video. Your like means a clap for me, that yes, you appreciate knowledge. So, gunpowder plot 1605, it got leaked. One of his own friends was caught. He leaked it to the king. Guy Fawkes was killed. All of those people, they got killed. This plot is called gunpowder plot of 1605 and it has been asked in the exam. Whether it is net exam or other competitive exam, this is important point, my dear friends. This question can also be asked with the name called Guy Fawkes plot. So suppose you remember gunpowder plot 1605, the question comes Guy Fawkes plot and you miss it, it will be a loss. So write down the point, remember the point. Now, James I, all these people had a system to connect themselves to Bible. At that time, there was no literacy, there was no education. So people used to believe in this thing that the kings, queens, they have the direct connection with gods. Because, there were so many rumors and the common man people, they would believe anything. So somebody would go and say that, please listen, ding, 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 drum, drum, drum. Please listen, the king is born and Jesus Christ came in the palace. So they would believe, okay, king is a god, king is a god. This is called divine right. They were supported by the priests, by the bishops, and they were using, they were actually making, benefit of public's ignorance. Kings were called the divine right people, having the connections with God and seeing this thing. James I, he was an outsider. He thought I should do something so that the English people can connect me. He formed a committee of 47 scholars. Write down the point. James I formed a committee of 47 scholars to write, revise Bible. Before James I, there was Great Bible of 1539. Before that, there was Cramer's Bible, Coverdale's Bible, Bishop's Bible, Breach's Bible, Tyndale's Bible, Wycliffe's Bible. All these Bibles were available, right? But what happens? James I formed the committee with 47 scholars to read, revise, re-edit, and then after 7 years, these people published printed the Bible in 1611, which was passed by the Parliament. This Bible was favoring King James I somewhere. This Bible is also called King James Bible. In Indian churches, they are using King James Bible. You must have watched Conjuring 1, 2, 3 horror movies. The priest come with a Bible, right? The God, the Father, the Son, That is King James Version Bible. Do you know there is one more Bible? Devil's Bible. Devil's Bible. Codex Gigas. Devil's Bible. If you don't know that, watch one of my old videos. It is there. Or do the Google, because now I won't talk about that thing. Otherwise, we will be having a change of topic. But yes, there is a Bible called Devil's Bible, Codex Gigas. A Bible which is believed to be written by devil. If you read it, you get mad. You read it and finish it, you will die. This thing happens. So, and all the new viewers who have joined us, don't hesitate to like. This is not a time pass video, it's knowledge. Let's love knowledge. Let's appreciate knowledge. So go for likes, right? You people are lover of knowledge, and I'm celebrating knowledge with you. So, Bible came, things came, Jacobinism was going on, but then we talk about revenge tragedy. Revenge tragedy in this particular age was actually inspired from Thomas Kidd. Write down this thing, this is very, very important. Thomas Kidd, the father of English revenge tragedies, a part of University Wits. I will tell you a very important point. Write down this thing. Jacobean revenge tragedy inspired from Thomas Kidd. Thomas Kidd was from University Wits group, father of English revenge tragedies. Kidd himself was inspired from Seneca, great ancient writer. The great ancient writer, father of revenge tragedies, Seneca, Seneca. Seneca is called father of revenge tragedies. Seneca inspired Thomas Kidd. Kidd wrote revenge tragedies in English, so Kidd is the father of English revenge tragedies. Influence of Thomas Kidd is clearly visible on Jacobean authors. They have written revenge tragedies. Now, talking about some of the famous revenge tragedies, Shakespeare. Shakespeare's Hamlet is a revenge tragedy. You know the opening scenes, the guards talking to each other. So one of the guards says that there is something rotten in the state of Denmark. Then they're talking, they find the soul, they tell Hamlet. Hamlet meets his father. The soul of the father says, Hamlet, take my revenge. I have been killed, I have been murdered, take my revenge. That's a revenge tragedy. 90% people don't know that Hamlet itself was inspired from Thomas Kidd's famous work, Your Hamlet. You are Hamlet. You, it's you, letter U. You are Hamlet. The short form. So who wrote Your Hamlet? U and R. Your Hamlet. That's by Kidd. Then we have Webster, we have Massinger, we have John Ford. These are all the Jacobean writers. They have written revenge tragedies. Hayward, a woman killed with kindness. A lady cheats her husband. Husband deserts her, doesn't talk to her, and finally she dies. These kind of tragedies, a maid in Cheapside, a chaste maid in Cheapside, a maid's tragedy, Tish Wonder, she is a whore. These kind of tragedies were written. And here we get to know the greatest revenge tragedy of this particular 25 years, Duchess of Malfi by Webster. Duchess of Malfi by Webster. Imagine this thing. Duchess of Malfi by Webster deals with the story of a lady. She was a widow and she had two brothers, Ferdinand and Cardinal. The brothers having the honor issue plus Ferdinand having his own incestuous issues. They want the girl to not to fall in love with anyone, not to get married to anyone. The Duchess of Malfi, Duchess, was clearly told to not to fall in love with anyone. Cardinal had honor issues. Ferdinand himself was interested in his own sister. Technically, this particular book needs a proper lecture as I have to talk about the complete age, so I will not be able to tell you all the exclusive and detailed point of this particular book. But when you read it, read relationship between Ferdinand and the Duchess, why Ferdinand says, cover her face, mine eyes dazzle, she died young. These are very, very important things. Then we have writers like Dekker, Marston, Middleton. These writers, they have written revenge tragedies, Antonio's Revenge. They are talking about the game of chess. So in all these stories, there were revenge tragedies connected to each other. John Ford wrote a famous story where the lover screws the knife in the heart of the woman, takes her heart out, and walks in the court having the knife skewered in the heart, skewered in the knife. ऐसा भी सीन है कि लड़का कोर्ट में वॉक कर रहा है, हाथ में तलवार है और तलवार में लड़की का दिल है. रिवेंज ट्रेजेडी प्लस गॉथिक सीन, bloodshed scenes were very much common in first quarter of 17th century. Then we go for the second thing. This is the time of Cavaliers. 1625, Charles I became the king. Now, Charles I was the most lavish king, spendthrift. In French language, Charles was called Carol. He was having a name Carol. This age is called Caroline age, 1625 to 1649. This age is called Caroline age. Technically, the first half, second quarter. Second quarter of 17th century is called Caroline age. 1625 to 1649 is the timing. Charles I was the king. With this kingship, the first Stuart dynasty comes to England. There will be a tough question in exam that with which king Stuart dynasty comes to England. So with Charles I from France, Stuart dynasty came to England. Write down these things. Don't forget these points. Then comes their writing style. Most of the writers, as the king himself was a spendthrift, a prodigal man, most of the writers were writing court romance. These writers were flattering the king. They were just writing love stories and romance with no standard at all, no in depth emotions. They were just writing simple stories, love stories, dedicated to the royals, dedicated to the king. They were flatterers. This group of poetry is called Cavalier poetry. Robert Herrick is a good poet in this group. Robert Herrick wrote Hesperides. There is a famous poetry, Carpe Diem philosophy, with Carpe Diem philosophy. To the virgins to make the best of the time. He's talking to the girls and says that do not hesitate in making love because when you will die, you will have no value. He simply says this thing. There are lines like this: gather the rosebuds while in May, the same flower that smells today, tomorrow shall be dying. It has Carpe Diem philosophy, a very tough question because normally Carpe Diem thing has been studied in metaphysicals. So please remember this thing that Robert Herrick has dealt with Carpe Diem philosophy. Then we have Richard Lovelace to Althea. He talks about the stories from prison to Lucasta. He's going to war. And to Lucasta going to war, he says, I could not love thee because I loved the honor more. Talking about valor, talking about chivalry, talking about love. Then to Althea from prison, he says, no iron bar make a prison, nor the cage, because mind has its own hermitage, right? These kind of works have been written. Then we have Edmund Waller, then Henry Reynolds, then we have William D. Avenant, then the other people like that. Cavalier writers were actually flatterers. So it is a small. But when we talk about politics, so I told you that Charles I was not a good king. He was a spendthrift, lavish king. It is said that he had multiple affairs and he was so lavish that he would make palaces for his ladies, for his mistresses. हर एक अफेयर को एक महल बना के गिफ्ट कर देता था, ऐसा बोला जाता है. चार्ल्स वन ने बहुत पैलेसेस बनवाए थे. अब there was a group called Puritans. The group of Puritans were totally against Charles I. Puritans were the most religious people and they used to believe in this thing that the pleasure is sin. If in life anything gives you pleasure, you are having air condition, it is pleasure, it is a sin. You are eating good food, spicy food, it gives you pleasure, it is a sin. Puritans believed in this thing that we are here on earth, which is the part of punishment. The first father Adam, the first mother Eve, they tasted the fruit of knowledge. They did the first original sin, the disobedience. So we are sinners because father and mother came to earth as the part of punishment. Imagine, think about this. What do you think? I met Ranjana movie star cast. So we were talking about these things and dramas and all. So I asked a question that is it true or not? So they didn't know the theory, but this is called born sinner theory. When you are born, you are already sinner. Born sinner. जब आप जन्म लेते हो आप पहले से ही पापी हो. How? Who did the first original sin? Eve, even Adam. Who were these people? Man, human living together, Adam and Eve living together naked, कपड़े नहीं पहनते थे. Why? Why do we need to wear clothes? What's the need of covering ourselves? सोचा कभी? Male are like male, female are like female, or even if we have some third gender or something, they are all common. It's all natural, right? Then why do we wear clothes? Why do we have to hide ourselves? Shame, forever shame. Adam and Eve living together in the Eden garden were naked because they were devoid of any kind of sin. There was no sin. मन में इतना सा भी पाप नहीं था, एकदम clean. So they never cared about this thing whether they are naked or covering themselves. The original sin, the taste of the fruit, the first thing that comes to them, the knowledge that comes to them is shame. They cover themselves. Then they become lusty for each other. They have a lustful sex. So earlier the love was platonic, not a bodily love, not hormonal love. But once they have tasted the fruit of knowledge, they got shame, evil things in mind. They became lusty for each other. When after sex they sleep, they see the dream, the destruction of the world. Now they have physical intimacy, which results in birth of man, Cain, Abel. So they have their kids, children. We are descendants of the children. So your birth, my birth, according to this theory, is the result of that sin. We are born sinners. That's what Puritans used to believe. Puritans कहते थे कि हम पहले से ही पापी हैं. We are already sinners and we should repent. We should pray. We should ask mercy. We should ask pardon so that we can go back to God. This earth is a punishment. This is the prison for us. We should not be happy. We should not be enjoying that, okay, I'm enjoying, maza aa raha hai, we have a good bike, we have a good car. No, don't be fooled. All these things, the materialistic things, are actually keeping you away from the path of God. Now, these Puritans protested against Charles I. It resulted in a civil war. 1642 civil war started for 7 years. 1642 to 1649. This is the timing of civil war. Most important, repeated question in net exam and other competitive exams. Theaters were closed by 1642. Theaters were closed. अब लड़ाई शुरू हो गई. क्यों? Because the Puritans said that King Charles I is not a good man. They were religious people. Puritans were religious people. Charles I was a lavish person. So they said that this man is not the right son of God. Let's protest. Civil war started. The religious people, Charles I. Civil war started by 1642. Theaters were closed. Civil war went for 7 years. It kept on going for 7 years, and in 1649, they killed Charles I publicly. They beheaded him publicly. Now, there's another detail related to it, that how Puritans were very powerful, how they could fight back, who supported Puritans, what is the name of Puritan Asian Empire. But 1649, Charles I died. A new kind of rule came, and that is called Puritan Empire. Puritans, 1649 to 1660, Puritans came. Now, from 1649 to 1660, when the Puritans came to power, they were all religious people. They came and they made some religious rules. They implemented religious rules. No more drinks, no more parties, no more club, no more fun, no more coffee houses, no more processions. Imagine. What if we live completely in a religious way? Religion will teach us not to go for parties, not to go for spicy food, to have a balanced life, right? So when the Puritans, the religious people, came to power, they immediately banned all the activities, then made it compulsory for every citizen of England to come to the churches in regular basis. Regular basis आना है. Plus, what was the another issue? Church attendance, carrying a Bible, taking the oath on the name of God, and avoiding all types of pleasures. No fashion, no unnecessary shopping. In England, in minus temperature, wine is a need, but they were told not to drink that. All the spicy food, good things, fashion, theaters, music shows, operas, all closed. Imagine. Now, what happens here? We have writers like John Milton, writers like Bunyan. These people started working and they came with religious writings. We have Thomas Brown who wrote Religio Medici. We have Jeremy Taylor who wrote Rules and Exercise of Holy Living, Holy Dying. Then we have Isaac Walton who wrote Complete Angler. We have Robert Burton who wrote Anatomy of Melancholy. These writers are there, they're the religious writers. Now, after 12 years, 11 years, from 1649 to 1660, people got fed up with this thing. They were like, oh, we cannot live like that. What will you do if you're trapped? You remember the COVID lockdown? So, English people were having a lockdown. Now, what happens? After 11 years, they felt that we cannot live like this. While the son of Charles I, Charles II, he was growing up. He wanted to take his father's revenge. When Charles I was killed, Charles II ran to France. He was a kid. So when he grew up, he also wanted to take his father's revenge. Charles II came with the army, huge army, and this time public supported him. Public supported Charles II. Said, okay, come. In 1660, a battle took place, which was a very small battle, because most of the Puritans surrendered, they gave up, they did not fight, they were weak. In 1660, the Restoration Age starts. This is also a question in West Bengal said that 1660 Restoration marks the restoration of. किसको restore किया गया? Who got restored? King? No. Monarchy. Rajshahi. Because the Puritan age was kind of democracy. 1660 Restoration came. Then their political conspiracies, their vulgar literature, who was talking about human gay relationship, in this age also they were talking about man-to-man sexual relationship. Then how it became vulgar, who criticized it, then diary writers, then the prose writers, the half part of 17th century that I will do in my next video. First half we have discussed. I hope this has helped you. Those who want to learn like this can join our online classes. The fresh batch is going to start in next 2 days. You can join the online classes. You will learn like me. See, reading literature in a basic way, anybody can do that. If you want to read literature in my way, all the historical facts, events, religious point of views, theoretical approaches, for literary purposes, for NetJRF purposes, then I use my University of Delhi teaching experience, my standards. This will help you. If you want to join online classes, WhatsApp me. I have this phone right now with me. 8810289637. WhatsApp me. I will help you and you can join the batch. Thank you so much. And all those who want to order notes, we have these kind of notes. 15 exclusive booklets prepared by me. I'm 10 time net. For those students who don't know me, you can order these booklets to target your December 2023 exam. You will have 15 booklets like this. In these booklets, you will have one special booklet. The previous year's other states question papers. This is a special booklet. See, this is girth. This is a special booklet plus along with these things. Paper 1 booklet is complimentary. It is added. So you can order these books totally prepared by me. Offline batch standard notes. दिल्ली बैच में हम जो ऑफलाइन स्टैंडर्ड पढ़ाते हैं वो है ये. दिस विल हेल्प यू टू क्वालिफाई योर नेट एग्जाम. व्हाट्सएप मी ऑन 8810289637 8810289637. नमस्ते, शब्बा खैर, अल्लाह हाफिज, टेक केयर.